if you're in something or in an organization or in anything where they say, hey, this is it, this is life, and you're building up a camp or whatever the case may be, and you can't go and come as you please, that is manipulation. So why would somebody want to manipulate somebody or do somebody wrong or anything like that? So sometimes you may be in manipulation and not even know it. So if I'm telling you, you are in this place and you can't go nowhere else, if you go anywhere else outside of this place, it's of the devil or it's evil or it's whatever the case may be, that's being in isolation. And it's not allowing your mind to think of what the Father needs you to do. It's not allowing you to use the creativity that God wants you to use for yourself and all of that. So that will be the one I would say. They tell you that you can't do something, you can't do this or you can't do that, and you can't go nowhere and all this other stuff. That is isolation.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So what you just said is very interesting because you said you're in a group, but you're isolated. So that sounds very weird because if you're in a group of people, how are you isolated, right? So for me, isolation, the first thing that kind of comes to mind is what everybody experienced pretty much during the pandemic, right? You had, if somebody was sick, they had to be isolated, or if you yourself wasn't sick, but you had to stay away from others who were, that was a form of isolation. When we had to do kind of the lockdown, that was isolation. A lot of people during that time actually lost their mind, right? So you got to think, why is it a part of manipulation to isolate you? And even if you say, oh, I may not have experienced it, everybody experienced it to a certain degree during the pandemic. We were isolated from each other. We couldn't go certain places. We couldn't do certain things. So we all, if you've lived in this time, have experienced a form of isolation and potentially the effects of those isolations, right? People's marriages broke down. People felt extremely depressed and lonely. You didn't feel like a place of belonging. So this is the purpose of isolation when people are attempting to do manipulation. Me, myself, and my background, nothing that I'm proud of, but early on in my life, I was in a very abusive relationship. And one of the things that this individual did to me was try to isolate me. I didn't see it at first because I was so young. What isolation was, I'm thinking somebody that wants to do everything for you. It's like, oh, this is great. No, I don't need you to go to the store. I'll go to the store for you. No, I don't want you to catch a bus or anything. I'll take you wherever you need to do. Don't worry, you don't need your family anymore. You can just depend on me. Don't worry about your friends. You can just depend on me. I'm always there for you. So me, I'm looking at it like, wow, this person really wants to take care of me. But in actuality, they were manipulating me and putting me in a form of isolation to where it was cutting off all of my ties and relationship and my need to depend on anyone else and just depend on that one person. And we'll easily mistake that as somebody being wanting to care for you. But in actuality, they were isolating me from my social relationships and solely relying on them. And it is very manipulative because you get to a point where you're just like, my world is only in this small circle now. And when you're in this small box or circle, now this person is gradually taking control of you. So this is why people feel the need to isolate you. Think about in social norms, right? You see a lot of people committing suicide, and you'll hear about this in children. And it's because if they think or act or look different from the larger group, they start to feel isolated. People start to point out your differences and they start to feel alone. And when you feel alone, you feel worthless, you feel negative emotions, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, lack of trust. All of that comes with isolation. This is what you're now left with. And you're like, I don't have a place of belonging. Why do you think people turn to gangs? Because they'll feel like my family doesn't love me or accept me. Nobody is paying me any attention. And a gang member comes along and makes you feel a feeling of belonging. you're willing to do whatever. Same thing with cults. This is how cults are allowed to thrive and succeed, because there's a person who's feeling isolated. I don't have a place of belonging. And what we yearn to do as an individual or a society is you want to belong to something. It doesn't matter if it's healthy or it's unhealthy. Your desire is to want to belong. So the fear of isolation is actually going to drive you into things that may not be healthy for you. Honey, you have something to say? I feel like I've been talking for a long time, so I'm going to pause.
No. I don't think there's nothing else to be said. You summed it up very well. And the next one is desire for acceptance.
And that's kind of what I was just talking about.
That is a big one. That is a big one. When you desire to be accepted by men, women, groups, whatever the case,
you'll do whatever to be accepted.
You will do whatever to be accepted. We would rather be desired by man here on earth, which is opposite of the direction that he needs you to go. Mm-hmm. Because if you understand that you have your acceptance with the Father, then you understand you'll get your gifts that comes with it. You'll get your, revelations that come with it. Mm-hmm. You'll get your purpose that comes with it. And not usually the purpose that God has for you is opposite of usually what men, groups, and other people think.
Okay, I'm going to say something that people may not like. But
people were like, well, go ahead.
No, but you got to think about it. When you are desiring to be accepted, like I was saying, you'll do things, right? Whatever it takes to be accepted. And you think about, I know this is, I'm going to say it anyway, sororities and fraternities. To be accepted in those groups, and I'm not saying all are like this, please. I'm not saying that all are like this.
Get some stones.
That's not, but in some, when you hear about the certain things that you're required to do to be accepted into this organization, may go against your own morals, may go against your own integrity. Like we were watching a video where there was, guys passing things from one mouth to the next.
Oh, that was horrible.
They're laying down and it's a cracked egg or something. So it's the yolk. And they're laying down and they rise up and they pour it into the guy's mouth next to them. And then the next guy does it and the next guy does it. And I'm sitting here like, what makes somebody want to do that? But it's the desire to be accepted, whether it's into an organization, whether it's into a relationship, whether it's into a group, whatever it is. And you're doing something that you typically would not ever think to do. But if it takes to do this to be accepted, you're willing to do it. So you got to think about that. Like, if it wasn't a requirement to be a part of this, would I ever do this? Typically, the answer is probably no. And that should be your wake-up call right then and there and say, maybe this is not the best thing for me. And again, I'm not attacking sororities or fraternities. They do a lot of good. I was just using that as an example.
And that's just where we are today in the world, that so many people desire to be a part of something outside of the desire for you to want to understand your connection with the Father.
Oh, well, here's another example. Church.
You going in today.
I hate to say it. I mean, I am a recovering religious person. I am not against churches. I think churches are wonderful, but with everything that there's always a bad apple. Let's just say it. There's always a bad apple somewhere. And even in churches, it's like if you speak up against one of the religious leaders, there's a fear that there's persecution that comes with it. So because they may make an example of a member of the church, they get kicked out or they sitting up there talking about them, whatever it may be, it's the fear that if I speak up, this too can happen to me. I can be, isolated, or I may not be accepted by the congregation because if I stand up against the pastor, I'm going to be looked down upon. So So instead of me speaking up and saying what's right, my desire to be accepted then becomes bigger than the desire to speak up against it. And we'll be quiet and we'll watch stuff happen. Nobody will say anything because you're too busy wanting to be accepted in that organization instead of standing up and saying what's right. So there's another example.
That is true, though. I can't deny it. I would tell you if you were not telling the truth, but the desire for acceptance, it can hinder you so much from really seeing the truth. You will never see the kingdom of heaven. It's the same thing for organizations. It's the same thing for churches. It's the same thing for anything. That the only person or entity or it that knows who you really are, what you are to become, is the Father. So, but when you get into a place where you're desiring to be accepted by men and people that see you can say something to you, you will lose what the Father has for you. You will miss it.
True.
And that's the truth. Get out of that desire for acceptance. So what? We can fulfill His ultimate purpose of love, which is bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth, which is love for every single body. Every single person, everything. And in that, you have to first find out what it is to love for yourself. If you desire to accept the Father for yourself and understand He will fill you with everything you need here on earth. And the more people get it out of that desire for acceptance from man and understanding your desire from the Father, the kingdom of heaven will come to earth naturally. And looking at what was going on today in the world, and you see things going on, it's the boy. Realistically, we think of it to the smallest element. It's a desire for acceptance, and most people don't even stop to even think about it. Because if I join an organization and this organization is going to kill somebody else, and you haven't taken the time to stop for a second and say, you know what, is this wrong with this right? Is it that you just want to be in that organization because of your desire for acceptance? So now you're willing to go kill and steal?
And let me just say, because you hit on something. So the desire of acceptance can also come with certain privileges. If I'm accepted into an organization, I may now have access to certain money or certain people, so that's another thing. You talked about killing and all of that. It makes me think of wars. You see where there's other governments aligning with certain governments, right? Even though what these governments may be doing may not be right, but they know if I come against this other country, I'm going to potentially cut off some resources, right? So that's another desire of acceptance. I don't want to cut off what people consider access or resources or privileges. So because my desire to be accepted and be able to have access to that, I'm going to align with you even though I know it's wrong. And you're seeing that play out currently with countries aligning with other countries, even though people may not be agreeing with what that country is doing. And so they're turning the blind eye because they're too busy worried about being accepted and having access to whatever that country has. And we find ourselves compromising constantly with our day-to-day. If you look at social media, you have people going out here and going up to strangers and slapping them, recording it, just so they can be accepted and somebody hit like, or they thought you were funny. And it's like, wait a minute, you're doing something that could have, what if somebody did that to your mother, your father, your brother or sister? How would you feel? But people are doing things out of character just to be accepted, just to get a whole bunch of likes or views. And this is what's driving people, even if it goes against what you believe is right or wrong, I should say. And again, to your point, we should only be desiring to be accepted by our Heavenly Father, the Creator, not man. Man will lead you astray every time, but your Heavenly Father, God, won't.
That's true. The next one is financial struggles. When most people struggle financially, they'll do almost anything and listen to almost anybody just to come out of that financial struggle. I understand it because you have people that understand that you're in a financial struggle. They understand what comes with people being in the financial struggle. They use that to their advantage and don't leave people out of the financial struggle, which is possible, and keep them in bondage, which is manipulation. Instead of telling them, this is what you can start doing today.
Financial struggles is you're easier to be taken advantage of because let's say I give you a so-called loan, right? You're down on your whatever and you need some money. I loan it to you. Now you owe me, right?
Yeah.
So I probably know going into loaning you the money, the likelihood of you paying me back
is limited.
It's highly unlikely. So I'm still going to give you the loan because now I can use you for other things, right? And so I may say, okay, now that I've loaned you the money, I want you to go and fill out this application fraudulently for me or whatever it may be, because now I own you. You can't pay me the money back, but I can have you do other things to satisfy that loan. And so you're vulnerable and people will prey upon you. There's an incident that happened recently with someone we know where they were desperate. They needed transportation, right? So they went to one of these shady car dealerships that will give you a car no matter what. And they got this car that wasn't worth what the car payment was. Like the car payment was, in my opinion, astronomical for this car, but because the person was desperate or was having financial, difficulties, they preyed upon them and was like, oh yeah, I'll give you the car. And the person didn't read the fine line because they were so desperate for it. And the car really ended up not being that great. They ended up owing a whole bunch of money. The car got taken and now your credit is messed up. You're in debt to this person. And they knew that going in. They knew that they could prey upon you. And that's just it. If you are struggling, people will seek you out and be like, I got this person. I'm going to take advantage of this person. I'm going to prey upon your, like you said, your financial struggles. And I'm then going to use you.
The next one is insecurity. That goes back to desire for acceptance also, because if you the root of insecurity is your inability to understand the depths of your soul and your connection to the Father, period. Because if you understand the Creator, and He doesn't make any mistakes, and He created you for a purpose, and He created that you can be strong and you can do all these things and all this other stuff, you get past insecurity. You get past it, and you don't go looking to somebody else to fulfill that insecurity. Because if you go to someone else looking to fulfill your insecurity, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be disappointed. So you have to understand that to get out of that insecurity, you need to read the word. It'll tell you about how to be strong-minded, how to understand your connection.
It'll tell you who you are.
It'll help you in so many ways to come out of that insecurity. They live an insecure life, and most of the time it comes from how they grew up and the mother or the father didn't treat them, or whatever the case may be, or then they get in an early relationship in their life and that person didn't love them the way that they think they should be loved, and now they're looking at life like, oh, I'm not this great person, when they are. You're just looking at life you're not this great person because this idiot or this fool came along and just misused the greatness within you. Just misused it. So, and it'll snatch that greatness from you, and now you're insecure, and you're wondering why you're insecure, because that person came along, made you feel, when you are worthy, made you feel like you were not worthy.
Trauma can cause you to feel insecure. And a lot of people are dealing with unresolved trauma. And you can have insecurity financially. You can have insecurity emotionally. You can have insecurity spiritually. There's different levels of insecurity. But for the sake of time, let's.
Okay. The next one is lack of critical thinking. You have to question things. This is my thing. You have to ask why. Mm-hmm. This is part of critical thinking. Why am I here? That's a good question to ask yourself, because if you ask why you're here, then it just leads you on the road to asking more whys and more whys, which is critical thinking, literally. It's critical thinking when you start asking the why. And then when you ask the why, you have to seek the answer. So if you start that why, then you have someone that's teaching something, you still have to go a little further, deeper than that to understand the critical thinking is going to lead you to who you are. You have to, because if you go into people, they're going to tell you who you are, but I can never tell you who you are. Never. You can never tell me who I am, regardless. So you have to ask that question. Why? Why are you here? Okay, man, I need to find out why am I here? Why am I here? So
I just think sometimes we get caught up in the moment and we don't stop to think before you do something. We don't stop to just think about something before we do it. We are very reactive, not proactive. We get ourselves in things based off of how we feel. And then when things don't work out, and then we want to stop and think and say like, okay, how do I get out of this? Instead of thinking before you got into it, is this the best thing for me to do? And when you don't know, it's not, I don't think it's a problem to go and ask somebody else who you believe have wisdom and understanding and knowledge themselves. I always say you need to have a conversation with the Heavenly Father. Just spend some time by yourself and clear your mind and think about it. Of course, pray. I think, unfortunately, growing up, everything was pray, 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 pray without any thinking involved. Everything was, I don't know what's going to happen. I done lost. Just pray about it. Just pray about you losing your job. That's all you got to do. Pray about it. And it's like, no, I need to think like, what other talents do I have? What other jobs can I go apply for? What other things can I do? That requires you to think. You can pray and think. It goes hand in hand. You can't just sit there and be like, I was in my prayer corner for 24 hours straight. Okay, you done lost 24 hours where you could apply for 24 jobs too and prayed about it. So I think we need to tap back into using what God has given us, which is our brain. It is our ability to think, pray and think. Do both, go hand in hand. So before you get into a situation, you can say, you know what, that just doesn't make sense because of these reasons, or this makes sense because of these reasons, because you have thought it out. Go and seek other counsel, people who can help you, go through that situation and figure out what's going to work best while you're praying. Just make sure not to forget to think. God will give you what you need to know, and that gets stored in this brain. Okay?
Yeah, it goes back to why are you here? What are you to do? All those things. You have to start asking those questions. And if you don't start asking those questions and seeking, or like you said, go into prayer, critical thinking that goes along.
Educate yourself.
You
educate yourself.
You'll be a lost soul. And unfortunately, we have so many people in the world that prey on that. So this is why we're teaching about.
They prey on your ignorance.
Yeah, this is why we're teaching about manipulation right now, because a lot of people are being manipulated and don't even know it.
And this day and age, we really don't have any excuse if you don't know an answer to a question. Pick up your phone and get a book.
Not saying that it's always
whatever.
right,
no, but it's like you have to educate yourself so that people won't prey upon you, but instead, we've become too lazy. We'll rely on what somebody else says and don't give it any thought. It's like, even if somebody gives you, advice, go back and research it yourself so you have a full in-depth understanding, and the time is up.
Yeah. So just make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with a friend, because every now and then someone else needs some love and encouragement. And if it only helps one person, we have done and fulfilled our purpose. So remember that. We love you guys.